Edo State Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu impeached by State Assembly. And from the courtrooms, former CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele remanded in the custody of Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, pending ruling on his bail application. For the Muslim community, countdown to moment of celebration begins as all eyes focuses on the moon. Federal government declares Tuesday and Wednesday public holidays. It's a loaded package. Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to Panorama. I'm Ruth Aguwele. Reports reaching us indicate that the Edo State House of Assembly has impeached the state's Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu. The impeachment followed the adoption of a report filed by the 7-man investigative panel set up by the Assembly to probe allegations of misconduct leveled against Shaibu. And in the meantime, we hear that Omobayo Godwin is set to be sworn in as Deputy Governor. And we also hear the ceremony is about to start. We'll bring you more details as events unfold. In another development, former CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele has been remanded at the EFCC custody following his rearraignment before the Lagos State High Court sitting in Ikeja on fresh counts charge of alleged money laundering and abuse of office. Meanwhile, the Federal High Court, Abuja, has affirmed the series of court processes on the second defendant in the trial of Binance Holdings Limited and 2 of its executives. In a suit instituted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission Limited and the Federal Inland Revenue Service against the cryptocurrency trading company for alleged money laundering and tax evasion. We turn to other issues. Officers of the Nigerian Police Force have emerged the best at the U.S. Special Program for Embassy Augmentation Response Team mission at Jordan. The training designed to enhance the team's skills in responding to various emergencies and tactical situations was conducted by U.S. Navy SEALs and covered several tactical drills and assessments, ensuring a well-rounded learning experience. Squadron Commander 23 Police Mobile Force ACP Itse Daniel Ama, who led the force delegation, said the feat is not just a demonstration of commitment and hard work, but also a reflection of a solid and enduring partnership between Nigeria and the United States. ACP Ama, who extended the IGP's gratitude to the U.S. government, assured that the training received will undoubtedly play a crucial role in their mission to protect diplomatic personnel and ensure the safety of the Nigerian populace. The Nigerian Air Force recruitment exercise embodies the spirit of dedication and excellence, with candidates showcasing their determination to serve their country. We join our correspondent, defense correspondent, Najatu Dejani, who is set to witness this rigorous selection process at the NAF base in Kaduna. Najatu, please go ahead and tell us what's the situation like.
Thank you, Ruth. We are indeed live at the Nigerian Air Force Base in Kaduna, Nigeria's premier base. It is also the headquarters of the Air Training Command. Just before you joined us, we had a Charlie 130 Hercules fly over us. I wish Nigerians had seen that. But what we're here to see are these young men and women vying for a position in the Nigerian Air Force to serve the nation, to serve and protect the integrity of the nation as airmen and airwomen. They are vying to be tradesmen and non-tradesmen, and I have with me here Air Commodore Chindo, who is going to tell us a bit more about that. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much, Najatu.
Sir, can you give us a brief rundown for Nigerians to understand what is happening and why the Nigerian Air Force is particular about the selection process?
Okay, thank you very much, Najatu. So what you are seeing here is candidates reporting, those who have been successful in the earlier application and writing of aptitude test, which was done some times back. So these candidates who are seen and those that came before them are those that are successful in that process that has passed. And what they are coming here to do is to go further into the screening process by going through their credentials and ensuring that they are genuine, have met the requirement of the Nigerian Air Force. Secondly, they will be subjected to thorough medical checkup, because we want to be sure whoever is coming is medically fit enough to go through the rigorous training that will be conducted for them. And of course, we'll subject them to a little physical fitness training so that we'll test their capacity to be physically fit.
What is, now they are vying for trades. When we say tradesmen and non-tradesmen, what does that mean?
That is right. The Air Force recruitment is done for airmen in two categories. We have the ones we call tradesmen. Tradesmen are Nigerians applicants that have a prior skill that they are coming into the Air Force to Air Force will use them for that with that skill, and they are those that have an academic qualification higher than secondary school education. So we have those coming in as plumbers, we have those coming in as aircraft technicians. That means they already had a national diploma in aircraft engineering technology or mechanical engineering. We have those coming as artisans, like I said, and those ones we require them to have a certificate that shows that you have learned a particular trade. You have learned carpentry, you have learned plumbing, you have learned any other trade. And then we have the tradesmen, the non-tradesmen. The non-tradesmen are those whose qualification is just at the secondary school level. And when they come in, Air Force will take them and train them in the area we want them to serve.
Finally, what is the criteria? I mean, if a person misses out on the medical test, will that person have a chance regardless of who gives an instruction?
No, it doesn't. The only thing that will happen, if the ailment is rectifiable, the person still have a chance to go and rectify it, and if it's still within the age limit, can still apply again. But other than that, once it is either medical criteria or any other criteria that has not been satisfied, the Air Force is, particular about ensuring that its criteria is met before anybody is taken in.
Because the Air Force needs able-bodied men.
We need able-bodied men, and we need to be sure that person who is coming actually merits to be into the Nigerian Air Force.
Now, finally, the Nigerians will be interested to know that the Nigerian Air Force, of course, the military, is one of the bodies in the country that recruits nothing less than 1,000 men and women every year. Care to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, because we can see the security situation in the country. This is the surest way of ensuring that we meet up the manpower gap. And the airmen, as you see, are the ones in the field. They are the ones that fix the aircraft. They are the ones that do the building supervision and dress. They are the ones that go into the field, in the front line, other than the officers that manage them and, of course, that fly the aircraft and the rest of them and supervise them. So you see they are more in number because they are the ones in the front line and they are the ones who does the job.
Thank you very much, sir. I've been speaking with Air Commodore Chindo, telling us about the recruitment process, how rigorous it is, and why the Nigerian Air Force and indeed the Nigerian military is particular about recruiting able-bodied men and women for the defense of the nation's integrity. Thank you very much for joining us, Ruth.
Thank you very much, Najatu, for that. It's just good to see that young, able-bodied men, of course, are ready to serve their country, and that's the spirit of patriotism and sacrifice for one's nation. Let's take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Good to have you there. As the days of fasting and nights of prayers come to a close, a last-minute task not to be forgotten is Zakatul Fitr, or alms given to mark the end of Ramadan. Tokpe Alabi in this report takes a look at the significance of the last obligation by Muslims.
قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى.
Ramadan fast is associated with various forms of devotions. Apart from the fastings, obligatory prayers, and other acts of worship, the month is also characterized with almsgiving. One major act required at the end of Ramadan fast is Zakatul Fitr. The purpose of Zakatul Fitr is to enable poor people celebrate Eid al-Fitr, the festival to break the Ramadan fast.
The main idea is to make everybody has something to eat on that very day. He may not even have time to go and work for what he can eat.
We need to give a lot of charity. We need to have empathy for the less privileged.
And when it comes to difficulties of life, the biggest of them is food. Anybody that is hungry will not even listen to anything. So this Zakatul Fitr is to cater for something like that.
Zakatul Fitr used to wipe away all your sins, and it completes your Ramadan fasting.
This form of charity becomes mandatory from sunset on the last day of fasting and remains so until the beginning of Eid prayer. It is given by the head of the household for each member of the family. The measurement is 1 sa'ah or 4 mudu of grains to be given out as Zakatul Fitr per person. The zakat is given from staple food items in the community, which include rice, corn, millet, beans, soybeans, and the likes. However, some scholars are of the opinion that staple foods like gari and semolina can also be given out as Zakatul Fitr.
Zakatul Fitr can be paid, when the Ramadan is coming to an end, starting from like 2 days to the end of Ramadan.
So anyone given after the Eid become ordinary charity. So that is why Zakatul Fitr, the popular food in your community is what they ask us to use.
If the rich among the society, the haves, if they consider the have not, we discover that it will be a better place for us to live in.
Islamic clerics say Zakatul Fitr basically censors that the poor have food resources to celebrate Eid, thank Allah, and share the day's joy with their families. In Abuja, Tokpe Alabi, NTA News.
Thank you, Tokpe, for that. Indeed, when you engage in Zakatul Fitr, it draws you closer to Allah. Don't you think so? All right, let's talk about the Ramadan, which is today. Today is actually the 29th day. We have a guest in the studio, engineer Murtala Dabiri. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, preparations for Eid al-Fitr is, set as, of course, Muslims await the sighting of the moon. But the last 10 days, before today, it's very critical in the lives of every Muslim, especially this Ramadan. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, the last 10 days is one of the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on Muslims. It is a moment that has a special time and period which all Muslims are expected to get closer to Allah in form of and it comes in form of a jackpot. What I mean is the night of Laylatul Qadr, by the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is slated within the last 10 days of the month of Ramadan, and it's also placed within the odd days. So at any point in time, a Muslim is expected to tighten up his belt, increase his effort and more worship to attain the blessings and the favors of Allah upon us in this night. So it is not something that any Muslim should think of wanting to miss at all. Even as tonight is 29th, today is 29th of Ramadan, you can still tighten your belt and increase your race, just like the horse will increase his race towards the end. Do that so that at the end of the day, you will be satisfied and rejoice that you made your effort, inshallah, and Allah will be pleased with you.
Indeed, and today is the 29th day, like you stated,
yes, that's
in preparation for Eid al-Fitr, which Muslims are hoping maybe tomorrow or the day before, we don't know. Can you tell us, as a Muslim and to other Muslims now, what are the lessons? Because I've spoken to some Muslims and they said the Ramadan month, is very significant in the life of every Muslim, that they always would have wished it continues. So for you, what are the lessons, taken out of this?
Enormous lessons, enormous. One of them is the character building that we find ourselves in. We end up building our character for the better. A lot of things that we normally wouldn't do outside the month of Ramadan now becomes parts of us. And we find ourselves engaged in more good deeds, in a lot of charity, and then getting closer to Allah by forms of worship, in forms of the tahajjud, the qiyam al-layl, and the nawafil salats. And the fact that at any point in time, it keeps you in check.
Yeah.
It keeps you in check of all the vices that are not expected of man during this month of Ramadan. So by the time you come out of the whole 30-day cycle, you find yourself in a moment of complete reflection, complete purification, and the next 11 months will be like what you can carry on with yourself, because the Lord of the Ramadan in the month of Ramadan is still the same Lord outside the month of Ramadan, which is an extra 11 months. So all these opportunities are enormous that we gain when we are going through the month of Ramadan, particularly when it comes to character building. And the fact that the closeness, we also build closeness to Allah, something that is very rare, particularly if you are fortunate, and we all pray that Allah makes us fortunate, to witness the month of the night of Laylatul Qadr in this particular month. You will have something called what we will ordinarily call the jackpot. It is like a reward, which is equivalent to about 83 years of worshipping Allah. It is like a moment which can never be compared but to 1,000 nights when you do just one deed. So one deed will be multiplied in thousands of months for you, and then it becomes a jackpot, and and then at the end of the day your name will be removed from the list of those who have sinned, and you'll be totally forgiven. What else would any Muslim want in this kind of situation? No, everybody wants to be forgiven. And once you are forgiven, you turn like a newborn baby with a new life, a new hope, new aspiration, and you forge ahead with what is left. And at the end of the day, you find the spirit to continue.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Engineer Sheikh Murtala Dabiri. Thank you for that contribution. And we hope that this rejuvenation, both spiritually and otherwise, has been translated in daily lives of every Muslim. Thank you for your time.
You're most welcome.
All right, and in the spirit of the season, the federal government has declared Tuesday 9th and Wednesday 10th April 2024 as public holidays to mark the Eid al-Fitr celebration. The Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji Ojo, who made the declaration on behalf of the federal government, in a statement congratulates all Muslim Ummah for the successful completion of the fasting in the holy month of Ramadan. Tunji Ojo calls on Muslims to imbibe and practice the virtues that entails kindness, love, tolerance, peace, good neighborliness, and compassion, as exemplified by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. While wishing the Muslim Ummah a happy celebration, the minister urges Nigerians to continue in the spirit of unity in order to improve and achieve peace and oneness in the country. Well, the federal government has commenced the distribution of 42,000 tons of essential food commodities to vulnerable Nigerians across the country. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari, flagged off the distribution exercise in Sokoto and appealed to sub-national governments to prioritize agriculture for food security. Let's hear from Salihu Gwanara.
It is less than 2 months when the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari, amidst high cost of food commodities on behalf of the federal government, promised to unlock the National Strategic Food Reserve as deliberate efforts to close the gap of food shortage among the vulnerable ones due to government policies of economic transformation. Sokoto State, like others across the country, received a total of 26,404 50 kilograms bags of these essential food commodities, including maize, sorghum, and millet, free from the federal government.
I'm glad to also mention that the declining prices and increasing availability of food commodities in various markets across the Federation stems largely from the consistent strategic interventions of the federal government in the past weeks, namely, but not limited to, distribution also of 58,500 metric tons of milled rice, 30,000 metric tons of rice equally procured but warehoused in the interim.
I would want on behalf of government and good people of Sokoto State profoundly appreciate our amiable president for providing assistance to our people when it is most needed.
Members of the federal government delegation, including the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, acknowledged the nationwide exercise as a promise made and kept by a listening government.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has said from the onset that whatever he will do, Nigeria and Nigerians will be first. And therefore, much as he's also doing that, he is also investing massively towards the production of agriculture, indeed contributing massively in the entire agricultural value chain so that Nigeria will have a secured future through food security.
20% of the food items due for each local government area should be given to the religious organizations, and 3% to be given to boarding schools in the local government areas.
Sokoto State government equally used the opportunity to complement federal government's gesture by adding rice to the food menu of the vulnerable beneficiaries. From Sokoto, Saliu Gwanara, NTA News.
The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has commended the recent enforcement action taken by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission against the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company for violating the supplementary order to the multi-year tariff order 2024 for AEDC. This action includes a mandate for AEDC to reimburse all customers in bands B, C, D, and E who were billed above the allowed tariff bands and to pay a fine of 200 million naira. A statement by the acting executive vice chairman and chief executive officer of FCCPC, Adamu Abdullahi, notes that the move represents a crucial step towards upholding consumer rights and ensuring fairness within Nigeria's electricity industry. It added that NERC's decision to penalize AEDC reinforces FCCPC's strong advocacy for protecting consumers from unfair market practices as mandated by the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act 2018. Many residents of Abuja, urban and adjoining communities in Cross River State have been rendered homeless, with no fewer than 100 houses and property worth millions of naira destroyed by a recent whirlwind experienced in the area. Udwak Etienne reports that victims of the disaster who are counting their losses following the level of destruction caused by the incident are appealing for prompt intervention by government.
The level of destruction caused by the recent whirlwind from Ogada 2 to the entire Obubra urban and adjoining communities in Cross River State is described as terrible and unfortunate. The incident destroyed about 100 houses, uprooting trees, electric poles and transformer, throwing the communities into perpetual darkness while rendering many people homeless.
But it is me and my household, we have nowhere to stay. I'm appealing to the government of this country to come to our aid.
So this damage have so much caused excruciating pains to our people. Like if we check now, most persons have been running around from different places to seek refuge.
What we just experienced, the pole and everything was falling down. It's only God that saved our life in this place.
In the wake of this natural disaster, a very pathetic situation played out when the roof of one Christian Acletus was blown off by the wind to another compound, destroying the roof of one Emmanuel Ike, who used her zinc to roof his house, forgetting the incident was not caused by the woman who is now crying for justice. This attracted the attention of the member representing Obubra 1 State Constituency, Ovat Agbo, who brokered peace between both families.
I want the federal government to come into it through reliable agencies like NEMA and even NDDC too. She equally come to our aid, because only the state government with the destruction here, I think the state alone cannot incur all the expenses.
Although no life was lost, some families have commenced reconstruction of affected buildings, while others are appealing for assistance from government, international community, individuals and groups in order to alleviate their sufferings. From Obubra local government area of Cross River State, Uduak Etam, NTA News.
And that concludes Panorama. Thank you for your time. I'm Ruth Aguele. Bye.